7 insane deep woods horror tales that haunt you forever. Are you brave enough to watch? The deep woods whispered secrets, ancient and terrifying. Every tree seemed to cast a long shadow, harboring restless spirits that chill the bones. There was a legend, spoken in hushed tones, of a place where time stood still and night never ended. A tangle of gnarled branches gripped the sky, allowing just slivers of moonlight to seep through. They said if you ventured too deep, you might never return. And those who did? Their eyes were hollow, haunted by what they had seen. One night, lost hikers stumbled upon an old cabin that looked like it had grown out of the ground. Its walls were rotting, vines creeping like claws. The stories claimed it was a refuge for those on the run from something lurking in the shadows. It wasn't just the echoing silence that terrified them, it was the strange sounds that pierced the quiet soft footsteps, the rustling of leaves, and that unmistakable feeling of being watched. They all felt it, a prickling at the nape of their necks, a tightening in their chests. Then there was the chilling phenomenon called the dread. It sank into the air like a thick fog, filling people with despair and emotion so raw that it clawed at their insides, making them question their sanity. It happened to a group of college kids who laughed into the dark, only to be met with silence, followed by blood-curdling screams no one could explain. They vowed to stick together, but one by one, they vanished. Their faces blank from fright, they left nothing behind but their fear. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the woods came alive. Distorted whispers floated through the air, creating a symphony of unease that seeped into their bones. Each snap of a twig sounded like thunder, and every rustle in the brush made hearts race. Those who dared to listen closely spoke of a monster, a creature woven from the darkness itself, feeding off the regret and fear of those who entered. Some claimed to see it, a hulking shadow with piercing eyes that glowed with an unholy light. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. But the scariest tale of all was the one of the missing kids, whose laughter once echoed through the trees. They were last seen playing near an old well, tied to a local myth that twisted reality. According to the old-timers, the well held a dark connection to another world, a place where lost souls wandered forever. Many had tried to find them, only to become lost themselves. As the memories of that fateful night faded, hope dwindled. Or did it? Or maybe just beneath the surface something waited, watching, ready to unleash its terror once more. What truly lay at the heart of the woods? What would be uncovered when dawn cracked the sky? Curiosity gnawed at the minds of those left behind, drawing them deeper into the darkness. The wind howled as Amelia stood at the edge of the forest, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. She could feel the pull of the woods, a siren call that beckoned her forward. The stories about the well, the place where laughter turned to silence, flashed through her mind like a vivid nightmare. The faces of the missing children haunted her thoughts, urging her to uncover the mystery that had lingered for far too long. Each step deep into the woods sent tremors of unease through her body. Shadows danced between the trees, twisting like phantoms in the fading light. The air thickened, heavy with an unspoken dread that wrapped around her throat, tightening with every breath. She was not alone, she could feel it, the weight of unseen eyes watching, waiting. Amelia clutched her flashlight, its beam cutting through the darkness. "I'm here to find you," she whispered softly, hoping the words would reach those who had vanished. As she navigated the gnarled roots and thick underbrush, the forest seemed to shift around her, the trees leaning in, almost listening. Suddenly, a sound pierced the silence, a giggle that echoed strangely. It was high-pitched and cheerful, yet it twisted her stomach into knots. Children's laughter didn't belong in these woods. She froze, her breath hitching as the laughter faded into a series of unsettling echoes, stretching and distorting. "Hello?" She called out tentatively, her voice trembling. A fleeting movement caught her eye, just a glimpse of something darting between the trees. Adrenaline pumped through her veins as she started to follow, her instincts battling against the rising dread. She rounded a bend, and there it was, the old well, crumbling and covered in vines, as if nature itself was trying to reclaim it. The stories swirled in her mind again, chilling her to the core. As she approached the well, the air grew palpably colder, drawing the warmth from her skin. Standing at its edge, she peered down into the darkness. "Is anyone there?" she asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. An unsettling silence hung in the air before a rush of wind blew past, chilling her to her bones. Then came the whispers, soft at first, like a distant conversation, but gradually growing louder, coiling around her. The words were incomprehensible yet filled with urgency. "Help us." It stimulated a panic in her chest. Amelia stumbled back, her flashlight flickering. For a heartbeat, time seemed to freeze before chaos erupted. Something in the well stirred. A low growl emerged from the depths, raw and hungry. The shadows thickened, and the trees creaked ominously, as if warning her to flee. But her feet felt glued to the earth. Then, against all reason, she leaned closer, instinct compelling her to look deeper. What she saw sent a shockwave of terror through her. A figure seemed to rise from the darkness, a vague silhouette against the abyss that stared right back at her. Hollow eyes glinted with malice, and her heart raced. Time lost its meaning as a cacophony of voices collided in a whirlwind around her. Just then, a branch snapped nearby, violently shaking her from the trance. She turned, eyes wide, frantically sweeping the area. Was there someone else here? "Get out before it's too late." A voice trembled out of the shadows, but was it a warning or a lure? Amelia's mind swirled with fear and determination. The woods were starting to close in around her, and something wanted her to stay, but the whispers intensified, echoing in her head. What was the truth buried in this darkness? As the darkness thickened, she had a choice to make, but each second felt like an eternity. Risk it all to find the children? Or flee the woods that craved her very essence? The well trembled beneath her, and with it, the forest seemed to roar. In that moment of uncertainty, she felt it, the ancient dread of the woods tightening its grip as the shadows beckoned. Would she succeed in uncovering the hidden horror, or become yet another lost soul? With a final glance into the abyss, Amelia turned on her heel, heart racing. But as she took her first step away, she heard it, the chilling sound of laughter ringing out, rising from the bowels of the forest, mocking her flight. What awaited her next? And were the stories true? To face the creature lurking in the shadows, would she need to return to the heart of the terror? The night still held secrets, dark secrets that threatened to consume her whole. And now they were hungry for more. The moment Amelia turned to leave, the laughter took on a sinister edge, weaving through the trees like smoke, wrapping around her ankles, pulling her back into the woods. Each sound felt alive, as if the forest was trying to coax her to return to the well. Panic clawed at her throat. "No, no, I want tea," she shouted, her voice cracking under the weight of her fear. She pushed forward, fighting the invisible tendrils tugging her deeper. The flashlight flickered again, sending eerie shadows skittering across the ground. Ahead, the tree line thinned, revealing a path that seemed too easy, too inviting. It was as if the woods themselves were offering her a way out, but Amelia's instincts screamed otherwise. The path glimmered briefly under the moonlight, almost mocking her as it beckoned her with its brightness. "Trust your gut," she muttered, knowing this was not the time to seek comfort in false hopes. With a deep breath, she forced herself to move toward the tree line, each step feeling heavier than the last. A crash echoed behind her, branches snapping, crunching leaves, and she spun around, flashlight raised. "Who's there?" Panic bubbled in her throat as adrenaline surged through her veins. Silence. Then more laughter, louder this time, layered with a sound that chilled her bones. It was childlike, yet twisted, echoing off the trunk of the trees. It felt like it was coming from all directions, weaving through the shadows around her. Amelia turned back to the path, desperation coursing through her. She had to get out, she couldn't waste time. Her heart thudded as she sprinted ahead, the forest closing in behind her. But every step felt futile. The shadows seemed to lengthen, chasing her, hungry for a taste of her fear. The laughter crescendoed, morphing into cries for help, the voices of children overlapping and intertwining. "Help us!" they wailed. Her stomach turned. She had to resist, she couldn't lose herself to despair, but the forest wanted her to listen, to hearken the calls. Then another branch cracked loudly, just off the path. Amelia froze, instincts kicking in. Her heart raced. This time it was near, too close. She could feel the chill of breath on her neck, a warmth that should not exist in the depths of this cold, lifeless forest. "No more games!" she shouted, spinning around with her light ready. But nothing met her gaze, only the ancient trees stood solemnly, guarding their secrets. The whispers turned into eerie echoes once more. Stay with us." Amelia knew she had to push through the illusions. The stories warned of this very trap. Turning slowly, she forced herself to run again. The pull kept her mind foggy, trying to coax her to succumb. For a moment, she wondered if a child's voice truly called to her, just beyond the trees. If they'd lead her to salvation or doom. With every few steps, breath grew harder, her lungs begging for air. The forest laughed, a chilling chorus that echoed with every rise and fall of her chest. She couldn't let them catch her, they wouldn't take her too. Just ahead, she spotted the glimmer of moonlight breaking through a clearing. Freedom? Hope flooded through her as she sprinted toward it, only to skid to a halt. The laughter stopped. Silence blanketed her, thick and suffocating. In the clearing stood a tall figure, shrouded in shadow, eyes gleaming with a fierce light. It looked like a person, but the way it moved was unnatural, fluid and rhythmic, like a puppet held by invisible strings. She couldn't tear her gaze away. "Stay with us," the figure whispered, its voice wrapping around her mind like a soft caress. Amelia's instincts screamed at her to run, but her body felt frozen. She could see the depths of its eyes, an abyss filled with darkness, promising both knowledge and terror. Would it reveal the fate of the missing? With a final push from her dwindling resolve, Amelia turned. She bolted, the forest roaring back to life as the creature unleashed a sound, an unearthly wail that echoed through the trees, chasing after her. Every instinct screamed for her to flee, but where could she go? The darkness was endless, and it was only a heartbeat away. Would she ever outrun the horror that wanted to claim her? Or was she destined to join the whispers in the woods? As she plunged deeper into the chaos, shadows closed in around her. She could hear the relentless echo of the child's giggle, haunting, taunting. What savage secrets lay ahead? What revelation could answer the call for help before it was too late? The thought tormented her as the forest began to shift again, reshaping itself around her in a cruel game of cat and mouse. As she ran, the wail of the creature thrummed in her bones, every note vibrating with a terror that threatened to shatter her mind. The forest stirred like a waking beast, branches twisting above her like skeletal hands reaching out from the shadows. She couldn't give and she wouldn't become a whisper among the trees. With her heart pounding like a war drum, Amelia pressed forward, desperate for the safety of light. The path seemed to narrow, tangling with roots and vines that clawed at her feet. She stumbled but caught herself, pushing onward. The laughter returned, mocking her, echoing through the dense fog that enveloped her. Just a little further, she urged herself, breathless and panicked. Then another crack. This sound came from just behind her, and she dared a quick glance back. A darker shadow emerged from the trees, its form twisting in ways that defied her understanding. The creature had not been a trick of the light. It was real, and it was hunting her. "Run!" She screamed to herself and dashed forward, branches grazing her arms, sharp like knives. Each movement felt like a betrayal as fatigue crept in, threatening to anchor her to the forest floor. Suddenly, the forest transformed around her. The trees seemed to shift, creating a maze of darkness that twisted and turned. The moonlight dimmed, filtered through the panic that clouded her thoughts. Was she being led into a trap? Panic surged as the laughter morphed again, intertwining with her own thoughts. Why won't you stay? It sounded almost pleading, desperation mingled with malice. Was it trying to lull her, to promise her safety if only she succumbed? Shaking her head didn't seem to clear her mind. Each breath was laced with dread. Amelia's instincts kicked back in, a primal drive to survive emerged. She wasn't just running from a creature, she was racing against the memories of all who had vanished here. Shades of lost souls whispered in the dark, their suffocated gasps against her skin. Then, ahead, a flicker of recognition, a wide, shallow brook she had crossed earlier. Water. It could wash away the lingering presence behind her. Gathering her energy, she sprinted toward it, hoping against hope that the line of water could sever her from the shadows, but just as she reached the bank, something griped her leg, a cold, clammy hand. She gasped, looking down to find fingers of night clawing at her ankle. She kicked, her body reacting instinctively, but the grip tightened. "Help us!" the voices cried out once more, rising and falling around her as if the forest itself called for her to join its lost children. With a violent wrench, Amelia freed herself from the grip, but not without consequence. The shadows rushed at her, jagged and wild, forcing her backwards. She stumbled, the ground slipping away as the brook's edge crumbled beneath her. Time slowed. Amelia's arms flailed as she fell, crashing into the icy water with a gasp. The chill cut through her like 1,000 needles, shocking her senses into overdrive. She thrashed to the surface, sputtering and gasping for air. The shadows hovered, swirling around the water's edge, but hesitated, reluctant to cross the boundary of the river, breath coming out in frantic bursts. Amelia felt a moment of freedom seep into her. The sound shifted, less laughter now, more a chorus of wails, anguished and mourning. Was she losing them? Or was she doomed to exist eternally between their world and hers? The figure from before appeared at the water's edge, glimmering under the pale moonlight. It didn't move closer, but its eyes bore down on her, reflecting a strange kind of hunger. "Stay with us forever," it beckoned, voice a silky whisper that slithered into her mind. Amelia shook her head violently, scrambling toward the opposite bank. As she reached the edge of the river, she felt the chill recede, but the haunting cries remained, echoing on the wind. "Please, not like this!" The shadows loomed over her, the laughter rising again, echoing in her ears. Her heart raced at the awful decision. The river might protect her for now, but was escape ever truly an option? The thought struck her. What if the only way to end the terror was to confront the darkness instead of running from it? The creature's glowing eyes watched all too closely, daring her to step back into the oncoming darkness. But what price would she pay if she did? As the laughter crescendoed once more, laced with desperation and need, Amelia felt the chilling grip of dread around her heart. The deeper truths of the forest loomed just beyond her grasp. Would she uncover the secrets or be forever trapped within their shadows? The decision lay ahead, shrouded in mystery, calling to her with an eerie promise. Would she step into the abyss and confront her fears? Or would she cling to the illusion of safety in the cold waters? Only time would tell. The water was frigid against Amelia's skin, a stark contrast to the boiling fear racing through her. Heart pounding, she clawed her way toward the bank, splashing water droplets into the air, and for a moment, the chill numbed her panic. She could still hear the whispers calling out from the shadows, the restless spirits yearning for release, desperate to claim her as one of their own. Amelia pulled herself onto the bank, gasping for breath as the cold blanket of water fell away. The laughter faded, replaced by a soft, sinister humming that wrapped around her like a shroud. What did it want from her? Was this creature really hunting her, or was it simply trying to draw her into its twisted world? With a racing heart and trembling limbs, she crawled backwards until she struck a tree, its rough bark digging into her back. She was safe, for now, but the shadows still danced beyond the brook, swirling and twisting, plotting her next move. Grinding her teeth, she stared into the blackness. If the river held them at bay, would they simply wait her out? Then, a flicker of movement caught her eye, a flash of pale skin within the shadows, drifting ever so slowly toward her. Amelia's breath hitched. It was the figure again, but closer this time, its flesh reminiscent of moonlight. Its eyes, black pools of insatiable hunger, bore down on her. "Join us," it whispered again, voice dripping with temptation. So much to discover, so much power. Her pulse quickened, disgust mixing with intrigue. Power? Was this what it offered? Perhaps it spoke of freedom from pain, a way out of the haunting forest. But she could see the truth reflected in those dark eyes, a darkness that promised nothing but despair. "Leave me alone!" Amelia shouted, the words tearing from her throat, raw and desperate. The figure seemed to recoil, just a moment, but it didn't retreat far. The chorus of wails grew louder, almost deafening, sending vibrations through her skull. Each cry resonated with a familiar agony. It was as if the forest was alive, breathing down her neck, its very roots entangled with souls that had met a tragic end. Behind her, water gently rippled. In front of her, darkness loomed. The silver moon reflected in the brook, shining dimly as though seeking to guide her. Her instinct screamed at her to pool the last of her strength and take flight, yet that eerie charm pulled at her. What if confronting the creature illuminated the path to escape? She shot another glance at the figure, eyes narrowed with determination. "What do you want?" The laughter morphed into a haunting melody, swirling around her like smoke. "We want you to understand, to realize your true potential." Doubt clouded her mind. This creature was playing games. Understanding what? Turning into one of them? But beneath the surface of her fear was a flicker of curiosity. What did understanding lead to, strength or surrender? "Face the truth, and we will show you." The echoing voice enticed, sending a chill down her spine. Tension gripped her chest. Could she muster the courage to defy it? She had faced the terror, the wails of the lost souls. If she was going to confront the shadows of her heart, she needed to jump into the darkness. Amelia inhaled deeply, letting the thoughts swirl before striking a defiant pose. "You think I'll give in? I'll stand my ground." As those words left her lips, a ripple of silence fell across the forest, broken only by the soft lapping of the brook. The laughter stilled, but the air grew thick with tension, a fragile interlude before chaos resumed. The figure tilted its head, considering. "Then, show us what you are willing to sacrifice." What did it want her to give up? Fear? Innocence? Something more? Amelia felt the weight of her heartbeat in her throat. She felt the other side beckoning, waiting for her to make a decision that could alter everything. The whispers began again, coiling around her like serpents, suffocating yet seductive. With the figures shrouded in darkness surrounding her, she realized the time for both fear and indecision was over. "Let us see what happens," she whispered to herself, an unexpected surge of courage filling her. Just as she stepped closer to the edge, a roar burst through the air. It wasn't just the creature. It was all of them. And she was right about the sacrifice. Would it be worth it, or would she lose herself in the embrace of shadows? The pulsating energy crackled in the air, everything around her vibrating with tension. "Amelia, are you ready?" The chorus called, their unified voice rising to a fever pitch. In that moment, she realized as the shadows closed in once more, the choice was not hers to make alone. And yet, she moved forward, intent on discovering what lay at the heart of the darkness beyond the water's edge. What would she find there, redemption or ruin? The only way to know was to take the leap into the unknown. Amelia's foot hovered above the water's edge, the cold mist rising to greet her like a lover's sigh, both inviting and menacing. The whispers crescendoed into an unearthly symphony that clawed at her sanity, begging her to relinquish her fears. Shadows danced in the corners of her eyes, inching closer, their intent unmistakable. Her stomach churned as if the very spirits of the forest were alive, writhing, restless. "Tell me your truth," Amelia shouted, her voice strong against the overwhelming noise. The moment hung in the air, even the shadows seemed to stop, awaiting her proclamation. Did she have the power to break their haunting cycle, to defy what they desired? In that oppressive silence, the figure took a step forward, the moonlight illuminating its features. It grinned, a grotesque smile that twisted its face into an eerie mask of beauty and horror. "You're closer than ever, Amelia," it taunted. "Just one more step, and everything can change. Just think of the power you could wield. The pain you can escape." A tremor shot through her, a mix of fear and a terrifying, deep-rooted intrigue. Power, it was a seduction she could hardly deny. Yet the darkness within those glittering eyes mocked her very existence. What would happen if she accepted its offer? What piece of her would she lose? But surrender was not an option. In a single heartbeat, something deep within her stirred, igniting the flame of rebellion against the encroaching despair. "I will not be your pawn," she cried, her voice slicing through the dark like a blade. With that refusal, the shadows recoiled. The creature lunged, and the ground beneath her feet reverberated with its fury. The air thickened, alive with the tension of the souls around her, angry and desperate. "Foolish girl!" it hissed, the laughter of the lost souls erupting around her, rising up, echoing through the trees. "You think you can reject us? The truth of your heart is weakness incarnate." Amelia felt the prick of fear, yet deep down, a whisper of defiance stirred. Was this illusion of fear built around her one she could dismantle? She took a deep breath, steadying herself. "Strength isn't the absence of fear, it's how we face it." The shadows surged forward, a tidal wave ready to consume her. The chorus of voices swelled, singing her name like a twisted hymn, urging her to surrender, to join their ranks. "You can't escape the truth," they bellowed, their cries blending into a single cacophony that rattled her bones, but Amelia's determination hardened. Summoning all her will, she stepped fully into the water, a shiver of ice racing up her spine as it closed around her legs. "I choose my own path," she declared, the energy around her crackling with fury. Suddenly, everything shifted. The shadows recoiled, their forms fragmented like a broken mirror, scattering in discomfort. The creature faltered, blinking rapidly as it struggled to hold its solid presence. "No! You can't!" Before it could finish, Amelia reached deep within herself, ripping a scream from her throat that shattered the very silence of the cursed woods. "Leave me be!" The sound reverberated through the forest, illuminating the darkness around her like a flare. The cacophony of wails erupted into chaos, the spirits howling in pain, their anguish a tempest that twisted the very air. The figure lunged at her one last time, its face contorted and furious. Everything around her blurred, the world fracturing as a force overtook her, pulling her deeper into the icy embrace of the water. The darkness swallowed her whole, Amelia's lungs screamed for air, and panic set in as the shadows circled around her, waiting to claim her. What awaited her in these depths? Would she emerge redefined or ensnared by the darkness? Just as the world of shadows began to close in, a flicker of warmth broke through the cold. Was it hope? Or yet another trap? And from beyond the depths, she heard the voice anew. "Will you still choose to fight, Amelia?" The question echoed, haunting her, making her heart race. What could she truly become as darkness threatened to consume her? The suffocating darkness enveloped Amelia, yet her body fought against the icy grip of the water. She struggled, her limbs thrashing instinctively as the translucent tendrils of shadow wrapped tighter around her. Panic surged through her veins like ice, and her heart raced. But just as despair threatened to overwhelm her, a spark ignited deep within. Could she truly fight this? Her mind swirled with images, her past regrets, dreams left unfulfilled. The shadows whispered those insecurities, taunting her as they clawed at her very essence. "You are nothing without us, Amelia," they murmured, their voices like a cruel wind. "Embrace the darkness. It is your true home." But at that moment, something shifted. A warmth pulsed within her, the radiance of her unbroken spirit. "No!" she screamed into the abyss, her voice a splinter of defiance piercing through the cacophony. I will not drown in your lies. With an effort that felt Herculean, she focused her thoughts, drawing upon the fires of her willpower. It ignited an inferno that surged through her as she anchored her heart to the notion of survival. The shadows writhed, recoiling away from the heat of her resolve. Amelia opened her eyes, the murkiness of the water lifting momentarily, revealing an undercurrent sparkling with promise. Light danced tantalizingly just beyond her reach. She kicked harder, summoned by the prospect of freedom. With each stroke, her hands cleaved the water as she surged upward. Still, the spirits clung to her with desperate fingers. You cannot escape. They howled, their breath cold against her skin. Their rage vibrated the surface, creating waves that pulled her back, but she had tasted the sweet nectar of resolve, and retreat was now impossible. Summoning her strength, Amelia unleashed a primal roar, one that echoed through the depths, shaking the very foundation of the dark realm around her. I choose my fate. Her voice carved through the shadows, scattering them like leaves in a tempest. For the briefest of moments, their grip lessened, allowing her to break the surface. Air rushed into her lungs, and the world exploded back into focus. Gasping, she clawed at the shoreline, dragging herself free from the water's clutch. Her body trembled as she collapsed onto the damp earth, heart racing, blood pumping with the lifeblood of survival. But the whispering shadows remained, a sinister presence lurking just beyond the tree line. You may have escaped the water, but you can't outrun the truth buried within, they hissed, wrapping around her like an oppressive fog. Amelia's heart thudded in her chest, a sharp reminder of where she had been. She felt raw, exposed, and yet alive. Standing shakily, she looked back at the treacherous waters. What do you want from me? She called, defiance burning anew. The atmosphere thickened with an unseen weight, tension curling like smoke. The air shimmered, and from the depths, a figure emerged, not the grotesque creature from before, but a being of shimmering light, radiant yet unfamiliar. You must confront what lies in your heart, Amelia, it said, voice resonating like music, calming yet assertive. This darkness feeds on fear, and you must shine your light upon it to extinguish the flames of despair. Confusion twisted her stomach. In her fight, she had escaped the water, the depths, but now this new presence demanded her attention. Was this figure a friend, or a new trap? Even now, you fear the dark, it revealed with uncanny insight, but know this, true power stems not from control, but from acceptance. She hesitated. What did that even mean? As uncertainty washed over her, a new sensation bubbled beneath her skin. Her palm tingled as the weight of the shadows pressed forward like a fog, inching closer. How do I accept it? How do I fight against it? The being raised an ethereal hand, illuminating the path before her with gentle light. To face what haunts you is to become something more than you ever imagined. Will you, Amelia? Or will you let the darkness swallow you again? The question hung in the air, a challenge that resonated deep within her, igniting the flickers of hope, fear, and the unknown all twining together in a desperate dance for survival. Could she uncover the truth buried within? What fears awaited her beyond the light? And just like that, uncertainty seeped in, leaving Amelia at the edge of a decision that could change everything. Amelia's heart raced as she processed the being's words, caught in a whirlwind of emotions. The darkness pressed against her, cold and suffocating, yet here was a sliver of light, a path that beckoned her forward. She trembled, not from fear alone but from an awakening she had never anticipated. What if I fail? She whispered, more to herself than the radiant figure. The soft chuckle that flowed from the being felt like a gentle breeze brushing against her face. Failure teaches courage. You've already shown it, it replied, the light gleaming brighter. To deny the shadows is to deny yourself. Accept your fears, and they will no longer have power over you. Amelia stared into the light, seeking answers in its warmth. Could acceptance really be the key to reclaiming her life? Could embracing the darkness somehow set her free? She could feel the shadows lurking, taunting her from the edges of her consciousness, reminding her of every doubt, every failure, every moment she had run away instead of confronting the truth. "I don't want to be helpless," she declared, her voice rising. "I refuse to be their puppet." A tremor rippled beneath her feet as the shadows recoiled, a shriek of fury echoing through the trees. The ground shook, the air thickening with their rage. They whispered darker things now, a cacophony of nightmares that clawed at the edges of her mind. "You think you can conquer us? You are weak, lost, and broken without us." But Amelia felt the heat building in her palms, ignited by resolve and defiance. "You lie!" she shouted, the sound ringing with conviction. "I am not broken. I am stronger than you'll ever know." A crack thundered above, the sky darkening as the shadows fought fiercely. Blinding light flared from her hands, illuminating the clearing as she pushed against the weight of their anger. "Show me my truth," she yelled, voice cutting through the darkness. In an instant, the air buzzed and shifted, and instead of the twisted shapes of her fears, she felt warmth. Memories surged, bright and vivid, her childhood laughter, dreams of adventures, the touch of loved ones who had anchored her when times were tough. With each memory that flooded her consciousness, she felt the shadows weaken, their grip loosening like a tightly coiled spring, the radiant being watched with steady eyes, encouraging her with a nod. "Let them flow through you, Amelia. Let them remind you of who you truly are." For a fleeting moment, Amelia felt whole. The shadows writhed in agony, their whispers becoming shouts of confusion as her internal light grew, bright enough to pierce the oppressive darkness. "I accept you," she said, her voice a whisper but powerful as a wave crashing onto the shore. "I will not hide from my past. I will embrace it." The woods shook violently, the sinister whispers screeching as if they'd been burned by sunlight. Shadows twisted, drawn into the whirlwind of her acceptance, and she stood firm, resolute. But as they retreated, a new echo reverberated within her. "You can defeat us here, but we linger in the world beyond," a voice hissed, one she recognized among the myriad of darkness. "Are you ready for what lies ahead?" A wave of dread washed over her. She had thought she was battling the worst, yet, if she conquered this realm, what would await her outside? Would the shadows simply regroup, waiting for her to falter again, as the last tendrils of darkness dissipated, leaving a trail of faint whispers fading into the distance? The light around her pulsed. The being smiled gently. "Follow the path, Amelia. Your fight is just beginning." An uncertain fear gripped her stomach, and she looked ahead. A winding path lay before her, stretching into the unknown, illuminated by warmth but shrouded in mystery. What awaited her at the end of the light? And would she find a way to silence the shadows that promised to return? As darkness loomed close once more, Amelia stepped forward, a mix of trepidation and courage fueling her determination. The fight for her life was just beginning. The path ahead twisted through the trees like a serpent, each turn hiding another secret. Amelia hesitated, her heart pounding with every step she took. The warmth that had enveloped her was now replaced by an unfamiliar chill that slithered up her spine. Shadows flickered at the edge of her vision, like a bad memory clawing its way back into her thoughts. "Do not look back," the radiant being urged softly, its voice a soothing balm amid the gathering storm. "Stay focused on your truth." She nodded, clenching her hands into fists, determined to grasp onto the light. With each step, the forest shifted around her. The tall trees leaned in closer, their branches intertwining like fingers reaching out to snare her. The shadows weren't gone, they were lurking, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Suddenly, a rustle in the underbrush snapped her attention. Amelia froze, scanning her surroundings. "Who's there?" Her voice trembled, but it was her own fear that gave strength to the darkness around her. "Only those who walk the line between light and shadow," a voice creaked from the darkness ahead. It was low and gravelly, echoing like a distant thunder. "What do you seek?" Amelia felt a knot tighten in her stomach. "I seek freedom from my past. I want to defeat the shadows." "Defeat them?" The voice was laced with mocking laughter. They are part of you now. You think they will allow you to escape? With each word, a wave of doubt washed over her. She squeezed her eyes shut, trying to call upon the warmth of acceptance that had blossomed within her just moments ago. But it felt fragile against the weight of the voice that mocked her. Open your eyes. It hissed. Embrace the truth. Amelia blinked, and what she saw made her blood run cold. Dark figures emerged from the shadows, their eyes glimmering with malice. They were reflections of her fears, a haunting visage of failure, a fleeting glimpse of loneliness, moments when she had felt hopelessly small and inadequate. No, she breathed, shaking her head furiously. You're not real. I want to let you control me. One of the figures stepped closer, its face twisting into an all-too-familiar mask of her own doubts. They are your companions now, Amelia. You cannot outrun them, you can only accept them. Only then will you find your fate. The shadows danced around her, taunting her, their whispers growing louder. What if they are right? What if you can't change? You are destined to repeat your failures. Again and again Amelia gripped her head, trying to block out the noise, the echoes of doubt rising like a tidal wave. A flash of light sparked in her mind, the memories of those who believed in her, their faces shining through the darkness. Her friends, her family. She wasn't alone. She wouldn't be. I am not afraid of you, she shouted, her voice ringing with newfound strength. You are mine to control, not the other way around. The shadows paused, the mocking laughter fading into a heavy silence. For a heartbeat, the light pulsed within her, warm and strong. But just as abruptly as it had come, it dimmed. Amelia felt it slip away, leaving her standing alone on the pathway, surrounded by the darkness. What had once been a comforting glow was now overshadowed by doubt. A chill ran through her, but it was not the shadows that frightened her most. It was the realization that she was only beginning to peel back the layers. Will you fight us again? The voice taunted, its tone now rich with malice. The deep woods seemed to close in around her. There was an intense pressure in the air, a palpable sense of impatience from the shadows that pulsed beneath the surface. Amelia took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. She had a long way to go, and the shadows were still lurking, waiting for her next move. She needed to remember why she was here and what she stood for. But what other horrors awaited her on this path? And would the darkness evolve into something more dangerous than her fears contained? With uncertainty trailing behind her like a whisper, Amelia stepped forward once more into the unknown, determined to face whatever lay ahead. The path stretched into a flickering haze, the trees looming like giants, their branches swaying as if anticipating her next move. Every step Amelia took thrummed with a mixture of dread and determination. The weight of the shadows felt heavier, like a thick cloak wrapped around her, threatening to drag her under again. But she refused to be lost again. She thought of the warmth she'd felt earlier, the glimmer of light rising from deep within her. I want to let you take me, she shouted defiantly into the dark, her voice slicing through the rising tension. The shadows seemed to recoil momentarily, but they quickly swarmed back, more menacing than before. Do you truly think you can fight the darkness? The mocking voice echoed, now closer, emerging like a specter from the trees. You are just as frail as the rest. As if in response, the figures loomed closer, their forms twisting and writhing, embodying her fears in grotesque displays. Amelia closed her eyes, breathing deeply. She recalled the memory of laughter, the faces of her loved ones, their unwavering support. You are not my truth, she shouted, her voice strengthening with each word. You are my past, and I'm not afraid of you. The shadows paused, a moment of power hanging in the air, but then, a dark figure stepped closer, a reflection of self-doubt dressed in shades of gray. You're fooling yourself, Amelia. Every moment you stand against us is a moment away from your reality. You will always be lost, just like them. The shadows cackled in response, their taunting whispers wrapping around her like a vice. You can't escape us, we follow you wherever you go. Yet inside, Amelia felt something shift. A flicker of courage ignited, its heat forced the cold anxiety down. Perhaps you gain power from the darkness, she mused, but I gained strength from my truth. With resolve surging within her, she opened her eyes to meet the darkness head-on, a defiance burning brighter than the fear. You're mistaken. I won't disappear into these woods. I choose to walk my own path. The shadows surged forward, the cacophony of murmurs intensifying like a storm. But Amelia found her voice amid the chaos. Every tear I've cried, every moment I felt inadequate, those ghosts are my lessons. They've built my strength. As her words resonated through the air, the shadows writhed in rage, their fury palpable. But Amelia felt a shift within herself, a stream of warmth radiating outwards, casting the shadows back. Surrounding her like a shield, the glow shone brighter until she filled the space with light. No more hiding. I've embraced my fears, I won't let you use them against me. With every declaration, the oppressive darkness waned, revealing flickers of sunlight peeking through the trees. Each spark seemed to disintegrate the despair that clung to her like a heavy shroud. Gradually, the laughter morphed into a rough whisper, fading as the shadows began to retreat. You are stronger than we thought, the voice hissed, slithering away. But remember, we will always lurk in the corners, awaiting your weakness. And just like that, they were gone, vanishing into the forest that had cloaked them for so long. Amelia staggered but stood resolute, breathing in the crisp air that no longer stank of fear. She glanced around, the forest now shifted, shadows replaced with dappled light breaking through the canopy above. I did it, she whispered, her heart pounding with victorious triumph. I chose to fight back. But deep down, she knew the journey wasn't over. The woods were still alive with secrets, and the fight against the darkness would continue. Turning forward, she took a deep breath and stepped onto a lighter path, determined to stay strong against whatever came next. Every twist and turn ahead held promises of new discoveries. The haunting whispers may have dissipated, but they had taught her something valuable, to embrace the light within her own heart. As the trees slowly parted, revealing a path leading to clarity, Amelia knew she was ready to uncover the depths of her true self. With a newfound strength and determination, she marched forward, leaving the haunting fears behind but carrying the lessons in her heart, no longer afraid of the shadows but eager to defend the light she had discovered. This was not just an escape from the darkness but the beginning of her journey toward the light. Now, dear friends, as we bring this story to its powerful conclusion, I need you to take action. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss any exclusive stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Smash that like button right this second to show your love and support. Let us help the algorithm reach more brave souls like you. And flood the comments section with your reactions and your theories about the ending. What did you think would happen? We want to hear it all. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who could use a thrill like this. Together, we can create an incredible community that thrives on storytelling and adventure.